Hi and welcome to the Faxon blog and podcast. Hi, and welcome to episode 54 of the Faxon blog and podcast. We're excited to have you with us today as we continue on in season 2. Joining Emily and I today is Fred Mastison, and you may have seen a little bit of Fred if you follow us on social media or you pay attention to us in magazine articles and product reviews, because Fred is quite the busy man in the shooting sports space, I would say. So, Fred, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Fred.
Well, thank you very much, Emily. It's good to see you again.
Yeah.
Seems like I just saw you a couple days ago.
I know. I was like, we finished up the class. I was like, we got to have him on the podcast. So I got back and I was like, Dustin, what do you think? And he was like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
So
I'm flattered. Good.
Well, Fred, if you wouldn't mind just, give folks your author bio on the back of your book, if you would, just the 10,000 foot view of who you are, what you do, and how you got into the shooting sports space.
Sure. Well, I'm Fred Mastison. Obviously, I own a company called Force Options USA. And under that umbrella, I've got 3 divisions. We've got the Firearms division, obviously. I do law enforcement and civilian training, beginners to advanced training. I'm a post-certified instructor, so I do a lot of national training and certification courses. On the other side of it, we do some combatives, some self-defense type training, open hand work. I'm also an outdoor writer. I'm a gun writer for about 16 different magazines. I've been doing that for quite some time. In fact, I'm finishing an article on you guys right now. Surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, we just finished building a rifle for you. So
hopefully, hopefully that'll be coming soon.
That's even for another article. So we have actually two in the hopper.
So exciting.
Then on top of that, we've got a close protection or executive protection business as well. And this is something I've kind of just was born into. My father was a lifer in the military for 30 plus years. And it's kind of what I've always known. And I taught for the Army. I taught combatives for the Army for several years. And what started out as helping a couple guys get ready for certs on the range, a long time ago when Abe Lincoln was president. It eventually grew into classes, and here we are today where I travel all over the world doing this. So I'm definitely fortunate to do what I do.
Yeah, very good. Well, something that we have some footage on, and so maybe you could talk about it a little bit, and we'll play this for the folks that are watching on YouTube and Vimeo and such, is about a class that you just did just north of us here, just north of Cincinnati up at Lake Bailey. You had a class that Emily and some of our staff members went to. What was that class, and what were you training for that particular course?
That was our introduction to defensive handgun class. And in all honesty, is one of my favorite classes. On top of that, we had a really good group. The focus of that class is to really build the hardcore fundamentals of handgun, which a lot of people skip over. Everybody sees social media and they want to go fast. They want to do the speedy reloads and have the sub-second draws, but they don't know how to shoot their gun. Mm-hmm. And in this class, we talk about everything from manipulations to a good draw stroke to follow up to sight picture, sight alignment. And it's a great class. And I'm not throwing sunshine at Emily, but everybody in the class really just crushed it. They soaked it up, and it was miserable hot and humid.
Yes.
And nobody whined. It was really, really a good class. And as I always say, it's one of my favorites because it's the building block. People really grow from there.
Yeah, we had an awesome time. And I think, to touch on what you said, the fundamentals are something a lot of people like to ignore, especially people that have been shooting a long time. I feel like as somebody that's been shooting a long time, like even for me, a fundamental class is always something I get a lot out of. Mm-hmm. I think, especially even when you shoot for a really long time, sometimes you almost forget the basics.
Yeah.
And it was awesome because I actually got to shoot one of our FX19 handguns. And since I'm new here, I haven't really gotten a lot of experience with that handgun. So brought that to the class, got to shoot that. And it was really awesome. Like Fred said, you get to do a lot of manipulation and you learn how your gun works a little better. Like you learn the feeling of the trigger a little better. It's a really great class, especially I think for people who conceal carry, you should be, or even if you just have a firearm for self-defense in any capacity, you should be really familiar with that handgun. And I think that's what was awesome about this class is we got really familiar with how our firearm worked and how to clear any problems with it. I think that was really great.
Yeah, it was a good time. Everybody did a great job too. I seem to be blessed because I rarely have any knuckleheads in class. We always have generally a bunch of rock stars. It's always fun.
Yeah, our customer service, one of our customer service representatives, Martin, was probably like the star of the show. He was so good. He was shooting amazingly. So shout out to Martin. Yeah, he was killing it. But
yeah, I mean, and so, Fred, how did you start developing these classes? Because you do more than just the one that Emily and the guys here took. What kind of goes into that kind of course planning, if you will? I think about it like my wife's a teacher, and so I think about all the stuff she has to go through and
lesson plannings
and structure and assessing how your students are doing, and knowing where you need to jump in. And obviously there's so many different, bodies in the firearms industry that, create some sort of training collateral, whether it be independent companies or, bigger groups like the NRA or the NSSF, kind of how do you start designing some of these classes, to probably put your own edge on it, but also, make sure that you're kind of in line with what, what the industry is doing?
Yeah, you have to have a curriculum, and I am the curriculum hog here. I've got curriculum for everything. So, for example, this Introduction to Defensive Handgun class, it is my personal spin. These are in my opinion, what are the core skills that somebody must have in order to be safely have that firearm and to be able to manipulate it. And if the worst happens, that they're able to present it and execute to do what they need to do. And in my opinion, those are things like, how do you get the gun out of the holster? How do you clear a malfunction? What is a sight picture? What is sight alignment? Those are things that I consider to be cornerstones. And that is where I start all my classes. They have to contain these items. Well, from there, we'll have an intermediate handgun class. Well, what's an intermediate? Well, now we'll shoot multiple targets. We'll start moving while we're shooting. And in all honesty, I start moving and shooting pretty early on because it's a very crucial skill. So then we'll introduce, like, for example, moving and shooting. Move to strong side and support side, learning one-hand manipulations. We'll do more close quarter work and things like this. And then we move on up to advanced. And all really advanced shooting is the fundamentals a little more quickly, because I still expect you to have the same strong fundamentals. And for those of you who shoot with me a lot, there's a lot of people, I get a lot of return students. We do a lot of the same drills in the advanced class that we do in the beginner's class because they're that important. But at that point, we may work barricades around barrels, in and out of vehicles and things like this. So it all starts with those cornerstone pieces, and then I'll add on additional skills for each one. And that philosophy, that model, if you will, applies to everything: my handgun, carbine, precision rifle, shotgun. That the same format works across the board.
And I would say, just from, what I know of you and what, Emily and others have taken classes with you and such, I would say this is more fundamentally based for like real life or potential real life scenarios. This isn't like, you're going to be training people up for the tactical games or something. You're not going to, have them do all the kind of crazy, competition stuff. This is really, heavily defensive, heavily, skilled for the type of firearm and situations that you would be in. Is that a decent assessment?
That's exactly right. And in all honesty, there tends to be what I call three classifications inside the firearms industry. There's the group that I work inside of, and those are defensive firearms instructors. And we work specifically on defensive applications, be it civilian, be it law enforcement, whatever. We work on the actual worst case scenario applications of firearms. And then there are those that work inside the competition side. These are competition shooters, and they teach competition style classes. You'll drop a loaded magazine in between targets and things like this, things you would never do in a defensive scenario, but that's for their world, and it works quite well, and they're really good at what they do. And then we have what I call intertrainment, which is, I'm not really sure what it is. It's they you're rolling around on the ground, you're hanging upside down, doing crunches and shooting upside down.
Sounds like my worst nightmare, honestly. Yeah, worst nightmare right there.
Yeah.
If I'm ever in a situation,
there's a lot of it.
Yeah, I'm ever in a situation where I have to do crunches and shoot something. I'm dead. Like
the world's ending anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's over.
It's done. I'm giving up then.
I am curious though, as you know, and you were just here, a few weeks ago, but, we've made a bit of a push a little further into the pistol market and being able to, offer some of the ability and skill that we have on the manufacturing and engineering side and putting it to things that, are smaller, if you will. People know us for barrels, especially for rifles. And then they got to know us for, larger handgun barrels, things like G34s and P320s and so on. But I'd imagine that most of the people that are taking your defensive stuff, the class a couple of weeks ago, would be more for, this is your concealed carry gun. This is the one you want to practice with and be comfortable with. I mean, what types of firearms are you normally seeing, come to these classes? Because these last couple of years with things like 365 and 365 XL and all the iterations of Shield and the Glock 43s over the last couple of years, what are some of the, more, popular choices for the people that are coming and taking this type of class?
Well, Glock is still just a titan inside the defensive world, because I think honestly, primarily because they have such law enforcement presence, people just assume that there's a good link. I shoot a Glock. I shoot a ton of guns, but that's the one I see the most of. Size-wise, I see a lot of 19s. There's some 17s. The other guns I'm seeing a ton of now are the smaller guns, like the SIG 365. I'm seeing a ton of those.
Yeah,
that's a great little gun. When SIG first released that, I wasn't sure I really wanted to like it. Yeah, because I'm honestly, in all truth of the matter, I'm not a fan of the little micro blasters unless you absolutely cannot carry a mid-size or full-size gun. But that gun's a shooter. That gun is a shooter. And I see those. I used to see a few revolvers here and there, but it's been a good year since I've seen a wheel gun come into a class.
Dang, I should have brought my wheel gun.
Yeah, she could have brought one of her cowboy pistols.
I would have just set the timer down. It would have been over.
Honestly, yeah. I many times I feel more comfortable with my Ruger Vaqueros than I do with like a Glock 19. But, I think that's just because I obviously have like 10 plus years of experience with my revolvers, and I have, half that with a Glock 19. So I think that's part of it. But no, I that's what I loved about the class, is that each of us got to bring what we were comfortable with. I mean, I brought an FX19, which I had never shot before, but that was because I wanted to get more comfortable with it, because I did just start working here and I want to know more about the firearms that we're using. But normally, like what I have at home is I have a Easy 9. I like that gun a lot, but that's what I could have brought that. One of our sales guys, John, brought his P365, and we made fun of him because it was the smallest gun in the class, and there were multiple women in our class, so we felt good that we didn't have the tiniest guns. Yeah, because that's your common misconception is that we're supposed to shoot the tiny guns. No, that was John. But that's what I loved about it is like Fred wasn't pushing any particular style of firearm on us. And I think, that's what's important, is everybody has something that's comfortable for them. And you stressed that too in the class, even like with style of shooting, you were like, what's comfortable for you might not necessarily be the way everyone teaches you to do it. But if it's comfortable and safe and it's working for you, Fred kind of found a way to work that into his teaching. And I liked that a lot, because a lot of times you get instructors that just tell you what to do and don't really give you that comfort. And you did a really good job with that, Fred.
Well, I appreciate that. And that's really actually a very important point, is if I have somebody coming into the class and they're shooting fast and they're shooting a ragdoll, they're shooting a quarter size group, and their grip is all wonky and their stance is all wonky, but they're able to really bring the rain, what am I going to say? Stop doing it right. Well, you're going to just be horrible if you start doing anything else. Now, of course, you could offer small tips, things like maybe move your thumb a little bit and offer things. But ultimately, this is a smorgasbord of things. Try it. If it works for you, fine. If what you were doing before works better, then go back to what you were doing. Anybody who says that this is the only way, yeah, you need to go ahead and pack yourself up and start walking.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that, if anybody watching or listening to this episode has been with us through the previous 50 or so shows, something that we talked about a lot last season because it was in such the height of the pandemic and in the height of the gun run. And, it seemed like new numbers were coming out every day for new gun buyers. And we had, so many people you would just see on social, just going after these new gun buyers, and there was one part of me that was like, okay, they just think what they think and it'll pass and it'll be fine. I remember seeing posts like, oh, all these new guns that are being bought, get ready to see them in a pawn shop in 6 months and all this sort of stuff. And we really haven't seen that this time around, at least not at the same clip as we've seen in, previous iterations of gun sale spikes. And, one thing that we try to echo here was, listen, if people are being safe and responsible, like that's really all we can ask, because as far as, Second Amendment rights are concerned, regardless of where you live and so on, you need more people. You need more people getting into the sport, whether it's for defense or for competition or whatever. More people to get familiar with it and more people to not just go immediately, oh, gun bad all the time, no matter what. And I felt like there was still a lot of people, that were previously firearms owners that were kind of, just poking and jabbing, at these new folks. And I'm like, is this the best foot forward, that we're giving here? All these people who are probably a little nervous about buying one anyway, and now they sense the need, and now they sense that this is something that they need to have for protection. I mean, you probably remember it was almost a year ago on the nose, maybe even a little before, we were talking about, the whole defund the police movement was coming along. Departments were having trouble staffing shifts. You would get news reports of vacant 911 calls, crazy stuff. And people were like, okay, this is on me. And I just thought it was a little bad taste for any of us in the industry, especially, but certainly in the firearms community, to be throwing up these barriers of entry and making people, feel badly about wanting to take that next step in their in their self-protection or family protection, home protection, what have you. I'm just curious, with all of that said, has there been maybe a little bit of a paradigm shift with some of the regulars you have in class versus, the new people that you have in these classes? Kind of what are you seeing now, since it's been, 10 million plus new gun owners in the last 12 to 18 months?
Well, what I've seen, there's multiple points on this. One is class participation. I always get a lot of the same people coming back because they really enjoy it. They make friends. There's a lot about firearms class that's really kind of a bonding moment. I do see a lot more newer shooters. And in all honesty, when I saw some of the existing gun owners kind of throwing stones or taking jabs at new gun owners, I set a couple of them pretty much on fire because their cliche was, well, they're not going to get any training. And I laugh because about 75% of the existing gun community doesn't get training. Mm-hmm. So they've got no foot to stand on when they say things like this. I agree with you completely. Even if they're not some super ninja shooter, they're a member of the Second Amendment community now. They may never take that gun out, but they've got a gun, and now they're not waffling anymore. Mm-hmm. They can be a positive voice for us. In regards to, essentially the attitude in class, honestly, the people that I've seen have been very positive about new gun owners coming in. I think social media is kind of a toxic place sometimes for that.
Sure.
You get
Absolutely.
Somebody who's perceived as a voice of importance. They chime in and set a tone on something, then all their little fan people will jump in and kind of jump into the mob mentality on that. But as a whole, I think everybody's been very supportive of new gun owners. I know we've had, Emily, we had a couple brand new shooters in this class, and
yeah.
It's been nice, but I haven't seen a giant spike in new gun owners or new students. But that's the way that it's always been. There's always be a lot of people that buy guns and never seek training.
Yeah, and I think as someone who used to instruct classes myself, I've noticed, I feel like 9 times out of 10 new gun owners are the new people in the class that don't really have as much experience. They're honestly almost always the most safe person in that class. The people that I really had problems with, I worked at an indoor range at Georgia Southern University, and I worked there for 2 years. And my problem people were my regulars. My problem people were the people that have been shooting for decades. They were the one, we had range officers that worked on the range, and, they'd have to stop someone. And I mean, it's like they've lost their touch with those basic safety practices. Whereas a new shooter, especially someone that maybe didn't think necessarily that they would own a gun someday, and they have, and I don't want anyone to be scared of a gun, but at the same time, there's like a healthy amount of, this is a firearm. This is something, that's shooting a projectile downrange. There's a respect almost, turning that fear into respect. Mm-hmm. And with new gun owners, I think they respect that firearm and they respect that safety, those precautions so much more than someone that's so comfortable with their firearm that they've kind of lost that respect almost. And they start to slack on those basic safety rules. And I think, like Fred said, those new shooters come in and, we had a few new shooters in our class, and really the only mistakes they're making are mistakes just out of not having the knowledge. Once I remember when I was a kid and my dad started teaching me how to shoot and my mom started teaching me how to shoot, like I never forgot a safety rule because that was, hammered into me. I was so, I was like, all right, I respect this thing that, this is not just a toy. And I think when you're new to something like this, especially now, and maybe it's somebody that was never around guns, you have that healthy level of respect and you're really paying more closely attention to those safety rules.
Emily, you hit it on the head right there. It's a sense of complacency I've seen in quote unquote experienced shooters. It's funny because there seems to be a little zone in there. Beginning shooters, really good about safety and the rules. Middle tier shooters that see themselves, well, I've been shooting forever.
Yep.
They get a little sloppy. And then those that have been in it a long time that are serious about it, their awareness and skills tend to go back up again. So it's that little middle zone of I know everything. They're the worst ones.
I think it's just like you said, the people that think they know everything. Because I don't know about you, but as someone who's been shooting, for like a decade, I never feel like I know everything. I'm never going to feel that way. I mean, I stood there in your class and I was learning things. I think when you're, an avid firearms owner, competitor, shooter, defensive handgun, person, like you're never done learning. I think once you accept that, I think that's when you become a little more of an experienced shooter and you get that safety, really down, because you're exactly right. That middle tier, they think they know everything. But with me, for the way I feel, having been in different facets of the industry throughout the last few years, you're never done learning in this industry. Like, and I'm never afraid to be like, oh, I don't know how this gun works. Show me. Like, I feel like there's, sometimes we kind of get pressured in this industry. We're at a range day or something and we're supposed to know everything. I don't think that's true at all. I think, once you think you know everything or you try to pretend you know everything, that's when you start to, see people slip with that.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, awesome. I think it's a lot of false bravado. Yeah. You don't want somebody to make fun of you or whatever. And then you risk making a mistake or just making an unsafe choice, for just the sense of reputation or prowess. And that could certainly get dangerous. Fred, I want to take a jump from what you do on the training side of things and the teaching side of things and maybe talk a little bit about the writing and what the kind of the journalism aspect of what you do. So you listed, or you said you write for, a bunch of, different publications. But for those of us who aren't in, regular contact with you, what are some of the, 4, 5, 6 that you write for the most that people may have seen your work in?
Sure. The ones I write for the most are ballistic magazines, Tactical Life, Personal Defense World. We do an annual or ballistic spec, then ballistic precision. I've done some stuff with Survivor's Edge. Then I do a lot of digital work as well. So ballisticmag.com. I do a lot of work with Alpine Outdoors. So pretty much, in fact, I don't think there's one magazine that they have that I don't write for.
Yeah.
So those are pretty much the ones that are most well known.
That's, and something I wanted to ask you about is, it seems like you could get trapped in the blogosphere really quickly. I mean, there's so many articles, and I mean, people are on Reddit threads talking about guns. Everybody has their own little personal blog. Everybody has like a digital publication that they subscribe to and such. But one thing that I feel like has stayed true for years, even before I was working in the industry, even as a kid, seeing, just the gun magazines, like the physical printed magazine. And I know that in the world of communication and media, people are always like, oh, is this the year that print dies totally and all this sort of stuff. But something I've found interesting, and maybe you could speak more to it from the inside, is it seems like the physical printed firearms magazines, whether it's, Guns and Ammo or beyond, they still seem to, be holding some water here. And I feel like there's a bit of the firearms audience and that two-way community that, like you mentioned, social media could be a toxic place to be sometimes. I think there's a ton of gun owners that, aren't active on social media. We get really tunnel visioned, especially those of us who work in it on the marketing side. You just kind of, if you're not careful, you'll think, well, everybody's seeing this, everybody's seeing this online, or everybody's seeing this on social. And granted, yes, millions of people are, but at the same time, there's a huge swath of the firearms community that, if it's not in a printed magazine or on broadcast or maybe cable TV, they're not seeing it.
You're exactly right. The cliche that print is dead is just a cliche. There are several magazine, niches out there that will always have strong print presence, and firearms industry is one of them. People like to have that physical, glossy, look at the pictures, read the article without distraction, without 35,000 comments. And in all honesty, especially as nice as the print is done now, especially with something like ballistic that's a little bit oversized, almost has a coffee table style feel to it, coffee table book. They're still extremely popular. And another aspect of that cliche is that only super old, boomers are not online anymore. That's not even remotely true.
Definitely.
I can guarantee that I've got people 10, 15 years my junior that have no social media whatsoever. They don't want anything to do with it. And they're deeply into the gun world. So I know for a fact that there's an audience that some people are really missing out by not reaching out to inside the print world.
Yeah, it's funny. I talk to like my friends that are in different industries, and we talk about market. I have a lot of friends that are in marketing or social media marketing, and I tell them, I'm like, oh well, in my industry, in my world, print media is super important. Print media, a huge part of our demographic in the firearms industry. They're getting those magazines, like you said, Ballistic, Guns and Ammo, Recoil, Gun Digest, and I think for somebody that's worked in the industry, my first job in the industry was as a copywriter. I was writing articles, I was writing blogs, and just moving into the marketing sphere. I mean, in this industry and these kind of companies, writers like you guys are assets to us. I think writers are so important. When Dustin and I are planning to market a product launch, I mean, the first people I'm thinking about is what writers do I need to contact about maybe reviewing this, or what writers, do I know that might want this product? I think, that's a lot of people go to social media influencers and they do have their place in this community, but I look at them pretty much equal. I mean, our writers are some of our best assets when we're introducing a product or we're talking about, some of our offerings here at Faxon. I think writers definitely help us out a lot, like you, for sure.
Well, I'm biased, obviously. I would agree, because one is we've got the experience in it, and two is we can speak to the product from a skilled background. The social media influencer thing has kind of been a thing, especially over the last 5 or so years, and as kind of an old grumpy guy in the industry sometimes, that some of the people, in fact, there's a company just recently chose, and I'm not picking on anybody, and I'll just kind of limit what I'm going to say here. Some of the people that they choose to put their products in their hands because they have 100,000 followers it's pretty sketchy because that man or that woman has got no experience with it. And their idea is that just by her holding that gun, all of a sudden thousands of people are going to buy their gun. It just doesn't hold water. It just doesn't work. And in fact, in this situation, I was actually contacted about it. It makes the company look foolish. And I try to tell, especially some magazines, the magazine side of it, to be very careful about who you're using and why you're using them. Because if all you're looking for are clicks, there's a price to that.
Yeah,
there's a expectation to that.
We're lucky. We have a really good group of influencers on the Faxon team, but I definitely agree with that.
We get choosy.
We get choosy.
That's
we
the
do.
thing. We get choosy.
Dustin and I get very choosy.
That's why you're successful. Yeah. That's why your influencers, that's why your programs are successful, because you're picky about who you use.
Yeah. I think, honestly, my favorite part of this job is getting to work with writers and influencers. I mean, you guys are some of my favorite people in the industry. And I mean, I love, like writers events and influencer events. That's something I've always loved to do. But, one thing that I love is a lot of you guys, some of the influencers, but really all of the writers. I mean, you guys, we're not paying you to write about our product. If we send you a product and you don't like it, you don't write about it. So really, at the end of the day, people are trusting you guys to write about what you think is a good product because you are writing, if you don't like the product, you're not going to write about it.
Or it'll show up in the article.
Or it'll show up in the article like this was crap.
No, Emily, you hit it on a very good point, because we, as a writer, I get that sometimes. They're like, oh, you never write anything but good stuff. I would really tell people how it really is. Like, well, two things. First off, you're not a writer. You'd write for about 4 seconds. And what I explained to them, like, listen, if somebody sends me a gun and for whatever reason, it's not working right or whatever, you send it back. You give them the benefit of the doubt. They didn't intend to send you a malfunctioning weapon. That's not what they want. So you're, as a professional courtesy, being a professional, you send it back and say, hey, listen, it's not running right. Maybe the feed ramp, I don't know. And bingo, they send one back. Everything's good. You finish your article. You might mention that, but our goal is not really to look for junk to write about and beat people up. There's no benefit to that. Those companies tend to sort themselves out. So that's what people don't get sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to it. And, Emily, you bring up a good point. It's something that we recognize, but maybe, those of us who aren't in the industry may not realize, there's a difference between, buying ad space, in a magazine versus getting a call from you or anyone else saying, hey, we'd like to use X, Y, and Z for this article, or, and sometimes it's not even about your brand specifically. It could be, hey, we're doing a whole series on this caliber. Could you just send us some stuff from that caliber? And the whole article is just about that caliber. And they might mention us, they might use a picture or something like that because those were the parts that they were using for their testing or for their write-up and research. But it's not necessarily a pay-to-play. You see a half-page ad, full-page ad or whatever. Yeah, that's pay-to-play. But nobody's, writing anything up on the ad. This is about, this is about like going, okay, what is kind of your guys' editorial timeline? What are you working on? What other projects are you guys doing? And, and we just try to make ourselves available for, okay, where could we pop in?
Or sometimes we don't even do that. We just all of a sudden we'll open a magazine one day that arrives at our desk and we go,
yeah,
someone
we're in here.
wrote about our barrel. Did we talk to him? Dustin and I look at each other and we're like, did you talk to him?
Yeah.
Did I talk to him?
Yeah.
And sometimes, you guys just find a product you really love, completely apart from that company. And you just decide to put it in your article and write about it. And that's, I think that's awesome. We love when that stuff happens. I mean, of course, we're always going to ask you guys if you're interested in anything. And Fred, I'll send you whatever you want, if you want to write about something. I got you covered, but we love, we hear of a writer and I'm like, I don't know who he is. I have to email him. He just wrote a great pice about our 1022 barrels, that happened the other day. And I was like, I should email him.
We have a little tracker when there is a writer or publication that we're planning on sending something to, we have a little tracker in there, and it's just, contact information, what we sent, when it's going to be publicized. But we do every once in a while, someone will come in, or we'll get, the big pile of magazines that gets delivered here, and I'll pass them out, be like, anybody with free time, browse through this and make sure we're not in it, because sometimes we don't know, they don't always tell us if something's going in. So yeah, as far as like, biases and things are like that are concerned, this isn't, kind of the flip side of the influencer thing too. Some people are just like, you pay me enough money, I'll come out, I'll shoot your stuff, I'll do whatever. And not poo-pooing it. We use influencers, but we want to make sure that they match with the brand. And especially for people that are, kind of in a higher level, a sponsored shooter of ours, or a pro staffer type situation, that goes all the way up to the owners of the company. We don't unilaterally make those decisions. So it is, there's a little more P's and Q's to mind when it comes to them. And so that's why I think, both people in the industry still like using, the written medium, and for the consumer, because they should be able to know, hey, I'm not just getting a spokesperson, for a brand, I'm getting somebody who, they're dedicated to what they're writing, and that it's accurate and that it's good. And it's not necessarily, like you were saying, just, how many clicks does it get?
Yeah. So for those of you out there that think all these writers are getting paid by us to say awesome things about our stuff, Fred is here to prove you guys wrong.
I guarantee you. And honestly, with Athlon Outdoors, they're the publisher. They own all the magazines that I write for. And they specifically have a policy of no pay to play. There was another publisher I worked for years before, and they were all about pay for play, because I would get a work order about an article. And then what I found out was their sales staff would contact you, for example. They'd say, hey, we get a great article coming out. Would you like to buy some ad space? If you buy some ad space, we can make room for the article. And I found out about that. I'm like, that is so cheesy.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
We're telling the writers, though, we felt foolish when we found out.
Yeah. And of course, like buying ad space and stuff, you're meeting people, you're building relationships. Maybe they think, oh, I'm writing, an article about a SIG P365. Oh, who has cool barrels? Oh, I worked with Faxon on an ad. That kind of thing happens. But, it's not like we've never, I think, paid to be in anything, we can barely
as far as a
buy,
feature.
Yeah, we barely can buy ads, let alone we buy print ads, but like Facebook ads. Advertising is pretty limited for firearms companies. So really we rely on you guys to think that our product's great and write about it.
Yeah, both digitally and in print. It's something, we echo from time to time, on the show, but I don't think people realize it. And it's always surprising to me how many people are surprised by this.
Yeah.
But, gun companies, we can't pay for Google ads. We can't do Facebook ads. We can't do Instagram ads. Anything that you see, from us on social happens in some way organically, either someone like an influencer or like a writer or just a fan of the brand is liking something, retweeting something, posting something about us. An affiliate might be posting something about us, but we can't do some of the traditional things that other companies can, other companies outside of the two-way space. And it gets so down to even things like, knives and whatever. People can't, any sort of, what the, social media ownerships would say is a dangerous ordinance, whether it's illegal where you are or not, whether you're an FFL or not, they'll crack down on you. They won't let you do paid stuff. And frankly, it just gets more and more tight. I think we're getting to the point where we're getting at least one post a week flagged by Instagram or Facebook, and there's nothing to it. It just gets flagged and they take it down.
There's no recourse either.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a few good luck moments where I've rebutted it and they've given it back to us, but we're at the mercy. We are at the mercy of our social media overlords.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true. And it's honestly, it's kind of hit and miss. I've got a good friend. She had several posts taken down, and for no reason either. In fact, they took down, she had a picture of an American flag they took down.
So crazy.
And I went to, and there was a lot of this was going on LinkedIn as well. I use LinkedIn quite a bit. So I went in there and posted a photo of me with an RPG. Mm-hmm. And then just to stir the pot, I threw out the whole 9mm versus 45 debate just to get everybody fighting, just so I get a lot of traffic on it. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. No flag. No nothing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then sometimes I'll post a picture of a knife and it goes against community standards and it's gone forever.
Yeah, it's amazing what it'll be and how arbitrary it is. But, Fred, before we start to wrap up, I do just want to see if maybe you could give us and our audience a little bit of an insight on what the next article is you're working on. For us, I believe, was this the profile, interview with that we gave you some material for when you came and took a tour here?
That's right. I'm finishing an article right now, a profile of the company.
Awesome.
It'll be, and of course, my opinion, it'll be a fun read. But
we think so too.
It'll be an overview of the company and really who you are. And because there's a lot of people that know you, for example, for barrels. You knew handguns. I wrote a piece about that, and that caught a lot of traffic for me. That was a very good piece for people. So I want to give people a little bit more depth about you and kind of a scope of really what you do. Because I think a lot of people see you as this person or this company when in fact you're a very diverse company that has a great deal to offer, and I think it'll go well.
Well,
additionally,
thanks,
we have a rifle coming in, so I'm one of the people working on Ballistics Best, which is an annual that we have every year, where we take in different categories, and ARs is one of them, rifles is one of them, and we do testing with it. We have a very specific criteria. We judge it for accuracy and things like this. And we're going to get one of your rifles into the mix this year.
Yes, I just went and checked with the Armory today. They just built it. They've been, shout out to all of our fans that think our armors are just kind of hanging out watching Netflix all day. I promise you, they're working as fast as they humanly. I went in to talk to them today and they barely looked at me. I was like, oh, I need this rifle for Fred. And they're like, yeah, it's done. It's over there.
Yeah.
Did not even look at me.
Yeah, it's wild.
When I did the tour there, everybody was just like on fire, running around trying to get stuff done. So I can attest to it.
It's funny because Fred, when you were here for that interview, it was, I think, my second day here. So throwback, guys. Yeah. I was like, I got thrown in. It was like first thing in the morning and they were like, oh, you need to meet Fred. Fred's here. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. And I mean, and that was also too, we all assumed NRA was still happening. So, it's been just, bonkers around here, but yeah. So Fred, where can people find out more about you? Where's that article going to be? And if they want to learn more about what you do in the training realm of things, where could we point them to find more about you?
Sure. First on my side of the house, my website is forceoptionsusa.com. And then across the social media spectrum is at Force Options or Force Options USA. So that'll be on Instagram, it'd be on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. That's pretty easy to find me. Magazine wise, I write probably 80% of what I write is for print. And with that, these articles will be coming out in Ballistic Magazine, Combat Handgun or Tactical Life. For the overview. And what happens on the print side is a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, 90% of the time, they'll let it set in print for a certain period of time, and then they'll digitize it. They'll send it to the digital platform as well. So that way we get evergreen content on the piece as well. And when that happens, it'll be on ballisticmag.com or tacticallife.com. They'd be on one of those two. And I'll send you a link just so you know for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely share that link, as soon as those articles are up. So everyone that follows us, Facebook, Instagram, will make sure that you guys can read that article. We're really excited to read it. So
yeah. And all of the links to Fred's profiles, websites, and so on will be in the show notes this week. So you could go to faxonfirearms.com/blog and click on episode 54. Also this week, there are 2 giveaways happening right now. One is the big giveaway. Now, Fred, this got people confused at first when we announced it because we have a God Bless Texas giveaway.
We're not in Texas, Dustin.
They're like, you're not in Texas. I thought you were in Cincinnati.
We're in Ohio.
And the whole thing is, we had this planned to be with other exhibitors at the NRA show.
All USA companies, by the way, which we're super, super excited about because that's
nice.
We haven't really done a giveaway like that before.
Yeah,
but
not that targeted. So, I mean, we have folks like Otis and Enforce and Loophole and Weber Tactical, Tops Knives. It's a great giveaway. So, yes, it was themed and branded and ready to go to debut at that NRA show. But instead of just taking all of our goodies and not giving it to anybody, we decided to carry on with the giveaway.
Like, don't you want our cool stuff?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you go to faxonfirearms.com, you can click on the carousel image, the first one that you'll see there, to get entered in that. Still a couple of more weeks on that giveaway going on, and 1 week for the episode 54 giveaway. We're going to be giving away some more stuff that we were going to give away at NRA show. So just like we were talking about print, here we go.
Nice catalog. Dustin worked on this for what seemed like years.
Yes, it's our 2021 summer fall 2021 catalog and magazine. So this will be sent out for the winter, as well as some new patches. And here soon, we're waiting for a product launch, a little bit of a tease, which is featured in here. And once that is up and live, you could also access the digital version of the catalog at faxonfirearms.com, a little interactive flip page. And then 4 patches.
4 patches.
4 patches.
That
so
Dustin designed.
Yes.
He's very proud of the. Could you explain what the big one is, Dustin? Or should we just leave it for anyone that understands?
I mean, all right. So when I first started here, Fred, I may be barking up the wrong tree with you. I don't know. But
I don't know either, Fred, so it's fine.
But, one thing that is very prominent in all iterations of our logo is the X and the logo, which, as you mentioned, profile the company and everything, we've mentioned it here before, but we were born out of Faxon Machining, the original company. Our sister company is still happening, going strong, just a few miles down the road from us. And they opened in the 1970s. And our owner's dad came up with this original logo with the X. And so we still have pictures of like them and their little shop in Northside with a big
painted it on a wall,
hand painted sign. And so that X has been part of it. And since it's so prominent, I just thought it was funny because it just makes me think of the now late rapper DMX. And so for the last couple of years for shows, I'll design like a DMX kind of theme commemorative. We had the X Gonna Give It To You patch a couple years ago. We did the first NRA that was canceled. We had a stop, drop, shut them down, open up shop, safety selector patch. And then then there was X patch as well.
Dustin plays a lot of old school rap in the office.
And country and bluegrass. We do show tunes.
We do
sometimes.
show tunes. We have show tunes day. We have Taylor Swift Fridays.
It's
oh my God.
It's a smorgasbord.
We have fun here.
Yeah,
that won't be featured in the article.
Yeah, that won't be featured in the article.
It is now.
Oh well, yeah, he's gonna go make some edits.
Personal tastes and preferences.
Got a new paragraph coming in.
Yeah. Emily and Justin listen to old school rap and show tunes. That's whatever.
Yeah, Spotify can't even keep up with us. But anyway, if you want to enter to win, not only will you get these items, but we're also throwing in a pair of Caldwell
buds at
power cords.
They're the best.
Excellent.
Yep. So all of those will be available. Go to faxonfirearms.com, go to the blog page and click on episode 54 to enter in the giveaway, get the show notes, and learn a little bit more about Fred and everything he does in the training and writing space in the industry. So Fred, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Fred. It was so good to see you
It's
again.
my absolute pleasure. I am humbled to be here. I really had a good time. I appreciate it.
I can't wait to take another class with you. Hopefully at Gunsight in Arizona. Cross my fingers. Please, Dad.
It's not up to me.
Darn.
Outside of my purchasing authority.
Say the word. Say the word.
Well, thanks, Fred. We appreciate it. We had a good time today.
You guys take care and be safe.
All right,
You
bye-bye.
too, Fred. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi and welcome.
The Faxon blog and podcast